Oh, I should have done like a snap transition. Well, I'm not gonna erase it and redo it. I don't feel like it. This is the Unit 2 Lesson 7 retrieval. In our packet, it is on page 65. For this first question, we're supposed to fill in the tables based on the given explicit equation, and they want us to be prepared to explain how the numbers in the equations connect with the values in the tables, and that will become obvious as we start filling them out. So let's start at the beginning. A very good place to start. They give us f of x equals negative 5x plus 17, so we're basically going to be taking all of these inputs and plugging them in for x to find the outputs. And I'm going to start with the easiest one, and that is an input of 0. So negative 5 times 0 plus 17. So I know that at step 0 my output is 17. Okay, now I'm going to plug in 1. Didn't really give myself space, so I'll come down here. Negative 5 times 1 plus 17. That's negative 5 plus 17. That is 12. Okay, so interesting. I've noticed here that all we really did was subtracted 5 to get from one step to the next. Let's just see if that happens on the next step. And yeah, I'm so good at leaving space to do all these. Negative 5 times 2 plus 17, that's negative 10 plus 17. Oh yeah, that's just 7. So I don't think we need to plug things in for the rest of the table. I think we can just figure it out. Minus 5, that would make this 2. And then we can kind of think backwards. If I add 5 to 17, I get 22. So that must be where this started. Okay, so we've noticed something here. If they had written this the other way around, this looks pretty familiar to all of our explicit equations, right? 17 is the starting value, we're subtracting 5 each step, and we're starting at step 0 because this is just an x. So if we had noticed that originally, we wouldn't have had to do all this work in the margins that I didn't really have room to do. So with that in mind, let's look at the second equation. Instead of the way they wrote it, let's think of it as 17 minus 5 times, and then in parentheses, x minus 2. So this is telling us that we're starting at 17, we're still subtracting 5, but this time we're starting at step 2, not step 0. So I'm going to put the 17 at step 2. Now the pattern is subtracting 5, so I know that this number is going to be 12. And then I can kind of think backwards. We know that 22 came before it. Going backwards again, I'm adding 5, that'd be 27. Backwards again, that'd be 32. Okay, if we use this again on number 3, I'm not going to rewrite it this time because I can see we're starting at 17. Now, when we do n minus 1, that is step 1. But this says n plus 1, so this is starting on step negative 1. It's like backwards. So step negative 1 is 17, and we're going to be subtracting 5 each step. Okay, number 2, they want us to find the x and y intercepts. So first thing we need to do is make an x and y axis. I hate when they don't give it to us. Okay, we are asked to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So quick recap on what those are. An x-intercept is where a line crosses the x-axis. So in general, an x-intercept is where y is 0, because that's what would allow the line to go through the x-axis. The y value is 0. And the y-intercept is where a line goes through the y-axis, so that would be where x is 0. So let's start with the y-intercept of this one. I'll just use the space over down at the bottom here. For the y-intercept, I'm going to think about x being 0. So I'm just plugging in 0 for x. So that'd be like 2 times negative 3, which is negative 6. Okay, so on the x-axis, we are crossing at 1, 2, oh gosh. So the y-intercept is 0, negative 6. Okay, x-intercept. X-intercept is where y is 0, so I need this to all equal 0. So if I'm thinking backwards, this is like 2 times something has to be 0. The only way that's ever going to happen is if this right here is equal to 0, so that I end up with 2 times 0. That would give me 0 overall. So the x minus 3 has to be equal to 0. And in order for x minus 3 to equal 0, I think x has to be positive 3. So 1, 2, 3. My x-intercept is going to be at 3, 0. And then we do our best impression of a line. Could be worse. Okay, let's practice that again because that was a lot. So x-intercept is where y is 0. Y-intercept is where x is 0. So I'll get the parentheses started here. We'll do the y first because I think that's easier. Y-intercept is where x is 0, so I'm just plugging in a 0 for x. Let's see, that's negative 3 times 1, which is negative 3. Negative 3 plus 6 is 3. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, 3. All right, x-intercept. X-intercept is where y is 0, so I need this to all equal 0. This part right here basically needs to be negative 6, so that when I add 6 to it, I get 0. So if I need this to be negative 6, negative 3 times this stuff, I need this stuff to be positive 2. So let me just think through all that. If I have negative 3 times 2, that gives me negative 6. And then negative 6 plus 6, that would give me 0. Okay, so this has to be 2. So x has to be 1. So 1, 0. And then we do our best impression of a line.